Hello, my name's Ed O'Brien. I'm an assistant curator here at the Franklin Park Zoo. Today we're in Butterfly Hollow, and I'm going to tell you a few things about the butterflies that we have here. Butterflies and moths are part of a group of insects called Lepidoptera, and Lepidoptera means scale-winged. And when you look at the butterflies, it doesn't look like they have scales on them, but they do, and that actually serves as protection. If you really magnified the wing, you'd be able to see the scales look like shingles on a house. And they provide protection from the elements, but also from birds. If you touched a butterfly wing, it's pretty slippery, and in fact the scales will come off, and that may help serve if a predator tries to grab them. If you think about butterflies and moths, most people are familiar with their lifestyle. Butterflies lay eggs and then they grow up as caterpillars, and then they go into a chrysalis and then change into adults. And that lifestyle that they have, those two different morphs, that's typical of insects. It's called metamorphosis, and they change from one form to another. But if you think about the different ways that they feed, it's really remarkable the changes that they go through. They start out as a caterpillar and they eat leaves, which is hard food, and they chomp through that, and they grow, and they go through different growth periods. They call them instars, and they get bigger and bigger, and then once they're large enough, they will transform into the chrysalis and change their whole body form and become a butterfly. And as butterflies, most people are familiar, they feed on nectar, so it's just liquid food. So they went from eating something really hard and solid like a leaf to a liquid diet. And those two feeding strategies have a huge impact on their lives and also the environment that they're in. When they're eating leaves, they're subject to pesticides or any chemicals that are sprayed onto the leaf, and so they could be really harmed by any pesticides that are put on crops or any other plants or overspray, so that can really affect them. And as adults, they're feeding on nectar, but they're serving as pollinators, and so they move from one plant to another, and that helps the plant propagate. So it helps them grow, and it helps them ensure that they're going to have future plants to feed on as adults in the future. Sometimes that's really specific too. There's a butterfly called the Karner blue butterfly whose numbers have dwindled over time in the northern North America, and that's because the habitat was lost for the plant that they're very specific to feed on, and that's the lupine. So sometimes if their plants, if their food plant can no longer grow, then the butterflies are in jeopardy. One of the things that people wonder about are questions: what's the difference between a butterfly and a moth? A lot of people think that moths are white or gray, that they don't have any color. But the real way to tell the difference is if you look at their antenna, and if you can get a close look at the antenna, an antenna on the butterfly is clubbed, meaning it's straight and then it has a big knob on the end, or a little knob on the end, whereas a moth will have feathered antenna. And then when butterflies are at rest, they close their wings. The ones you're looking at now are feeding, so their wings are open. And but when they rest, if you see one that's not feeding, it'll have its wings closed. And most moths rest with their wings open. And of course, another difference is butterflies are active. Most butterflies are active during the day. That's called diurnal. And most moths, a lot of moths, are active at night. But there are exceptions to all of these rules. Here's a great southern white right next to the monarch, and you can see that is a butterfly. It's got that clubbed antenna, and it's active.
How many different butterfly species do we have here?
We have about, at any one time, we'll have about 15 different species flying. It really varies. We get our butterflies from people that grow them in North America. So they're all native to North America. A number of them are found here in the Northeast, in Boston and Massachusetts. But some are found further south, down into Florida. And their job as butterfly farmers is extremely hard because they need to grow the caterpillars, but there are a lot of predators on caterpillars. There's ants and all kinds of things, so they really have to be careful. And they can't use pesticides to try to control the predators, so they really have to protect their caterpillars and butterflies. And you'll notice that there's a pretty good amount of activity right here now. And that is evidence that butterflies are really solar animals. They like the heat and the warmth, and they especially like the sun. When it's a cloudy day, if it's cloudy and warm, there'll be some flight activity, but if it's cloudy and cool, they're definitely slower, and there's not as much activity. So on these days, actually these hot and humid days may not be the best for us, but the butterflies love it. So it's a good time to come out to Butterfly Hollow. One of the ways that we get all of these butterflies that are in here, they all came out from chrysalises that we received from the butterfly farmers. And over here is our eclosion box. The term eclosion means emerging from the pupa. And so we receive chrysalises from the butterfly farmers, and we hang them up in here. And these are all live, all different types of butterflies, and we're just waiting for them to emerge or eclose. Some of them have already come out, and the way that we release them, we have to open it up from the back, and we take each one out individually. And they spend about up to 2 weeks in the chrysalis form, and as adults, their lifespan is about 2 weeks as well. Some can live longer, some live shorter, and we order about 700 butterflies per week, and so at any given time there could be over 1,000 butterflies flying in here.
Is Butterfly Hollow open every day?
Yeah, our Butterfly Hollow is open every day as long as the weather is cooperating. So as long as it's not really raining hard. The structure looks like we're inside, but it's actually a screen, so we are open to the elements. It will rain in here, and as long as the rain's not too strong, we'll stay open. And but we're open every day up until Memorial Day, so up until the first Monday in September. That will be our last day this year.
We have a question about how we can protect local butterflies. How our viewers can protect local butterflies.
Yeah, so the way you protect local butterflies is to provide a lot of plant food for them. So do some research. Audubon societies, there's a lot of gardening websites and things for butterflies, and you can plant different types of food. So the flowers that the butterflies feed on is important because that gives them the energy for laying eggs. But there's also sometimes there's very specific plants that they need to lay eggs. Some will lay eggs on a lot of variety of plants. Others are very specific. Things like milkweed is important for monarchs, and the monarch butterflies, their numbers have declined over the years, and a lot of it has to do with habitat loss and pesticides and things like that. So like the butterfly farmers, try not to use pesticides, try to use, there are certain plants you can plant to try to deter certain insects, but yeah, overall try to minimize the amount of or eliminate any pesticides, and then plant flowers for food and also plants for caterpillars.
Yes. All right. I think then we'll wrap up if you wanted to sign off.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks today for joining me. I hope you enjoy it, and please come to Butterfly Hollow. We're open every day from 10 to 4, and come along.